Hey, it's Jeff Dolan, CEO of Wavve. Hope you're doing well. I just wanted to give you this really cool announcement, a feature update. So you might have heard that there is a trend where you want to just host your podcast on YouTube and load the entire episode on YouTube and just have kind of a podcast channel, YouTube channel. It's growing in popularity because it's a great free method to host your podcast. Of course, there's a lot of things that it does not do that a lot of our hosting friends will tell you that if you're a more professional podcaster, obviously that's just a destination. It's not a place to host if you're going to be a professional podcaster, but it is a viable option. Now, creating content for social media, whether it's YouTube or Twitter or Facebook or whatever it is, you want to be able to speed up and get the marketing automated. So that's what we want to help you with Zapier. So we built an integration that you can use, and I'm going to show you briefly how to use it and kind of describe it in more detail. But if you're a Zapier user and you are already knowledgeable about it, you can jump right in without much training at all. Just go to Zapier.com and type in Wavve, and you'll start seeing we have an action and a trigger. So you can use it in different ways. So let's go jump in, and I'll show you how this works here. All right. So I'm logged into my Zapier account, and one of the things that you can do is when you go to create a Zap is you can just type in the word Wavve. Now, you can create a free Zapier account and do simple automations where it's like 2 steps. And we've built our Zap integration for the free plan. So while you can do multiple segment Zaps, you can get a lot of powerful things done with just 2 Zaps using Wavve. So let's say that you had a podcast and you wanted to pull it in every time you had a new podcast show up in your podcast host or your RSS feed, whether that be, a syndicated one like Apple or Spotify or anything like that, or a self-hosted one. Every time it hit that RSS feed, you wanted a Wavve to be created and then posted to YouTube, let's say, or posted to Facebook, let's say, or posted to Twitter. You can use Zapier to do that. Okay, so you can select this RSS by Zapier. You can come in here and say new item in the feed and continue. And then you just pick your podcast feed URL. If it's a private one, you can have the username, ID, and password, and you can leave that as it is. And then you go through this. I'm going to just grab my anchor one real quick just so I can show you. So if I paste this in here, I'll let that continue. So what it's going to do, and then you can test the trigger. And if you're a Zapier user, you're going to know how to use this pretty easily. But if this is the first time you're using it, I just want to walk you through this real basically. But basically what's going to happen is it's going to pull in your first, you'll notice that Simple Success Swinging Singles is one of the episodes I have in my personal podcast, right? And so it's just pulling in the data from there. And then I hit continue. Now, that's just a test one. That means when I release a new episode, I can come in here and say Wavve and pull this in and say create video. Okay. Now, a couple things I'm going to need to do before I set this up. Number one, I'm going to need to have a design in the right orientation already in my Wavve account. And I'll show you why in a minute. So I'm going to sign into Wavve, right? You want to make sure that you have your Wavve account connected. Okay, so it's gonna pull this in here, and I'm gonna. Okay, so you're gonna do that. It's gonna connect, and you're gonna say continue after you log in, and then you're gonna have some options here. Now, the cool part is, you can have a list of all of your named designs, okay? So I have this, Dolan Diaries, one that I created here. And then when I go to MP3 link, I just have to scroll down to the right, raw enclosure URL. I think that's the one you want. Yep, because there's the MP3 at the end. Okay, so that's the one you want, raw enclosure URL for Anchor. Each one will have a different one, but I think it's raw enclosure URL for most of them. And then here's the cool kind of secret sauce, right? So we have this thing called summarization where you can say true or false or on and or off. Summarization means that we've created a smart AI. We call it the smart highlight AI, or the SHAI, the smart highlight AI. And what this technology does is it basically, in the background, magically, finds the most interesting parts of your podcast. And if it's a short little clip, right? If you're just having like a few minute clip or a 30-second clip or something, it's not going to try to clip it into something smaller. But if you load, a 10-minute or more clip, a 7-minute or more clip, it's going to go in and find the most interesting moments, or at least the valuable moments that the AI thinks are interesting, and it's going to clip them based on like sentences and complete thoughts. And it's going to try to find those complete thoughts and chop those and cut those and then summarize them all together. So you kind of get like a highlights reel of your podcast. And that's what summarization is. Okay. So it's using that AI machine learning to kind of go in and do that and create that highlight reel of your episode. So if you want to do that, you can say on. If you don't want to do that and you just want it to create a wave of your full episode, you can just say, hey, summarization off, and it'll just grab the whole file and create a wave with your whole file using the design that you selected. Now, make sure that pre-design is already in there. And then you can come in here and I can say, I want the title to be the name of my podcast title, and I want the description to be the description of that episode, right? And so you can pull that in really easily. And then we're going to put automatically an automated tag on all of these videos that come from the Zapier integration through the automation. But you can put other tags on it. And the reason this is important is because maybe you want to post it, let's say, to YouTube. Okay, so you want to automatically post it to YouTube. So what we're going to do in this step is we're just going to create the wave, because the wave, you might have an half-hour episode. So it's going to create the wave episode. It's going to tag it YouTube, and then we're going to have another Zap that is looking for finished waves with the YouTube tag on it, and it's going to know immediately we need to pick this up and post it to YouTube. Okay, super cool. I'm going to show that to you in a minute. But you can tag it with as many different ones as you want here. We're going to tag it YouTube, and then I'm going to say continue. Okay, so that was it. We're done with that part of the automation. And then you can test it, of course, and test and continue or whatever. I'm just going to skip the test for now. And you can name your Zap. And then I can turn this Zap on, right? And when you turn it on, it's like, yay, and it's working. So I can turn that on and you're good to go. Your Zap is on. Great. Okay, perfect. Okay. Then you can go back out again. Now, let's say that you're an agency and you have a more sophisticated setup, right? Because more than likely, if you're excited about this new integration with Zapier, you're a power user. You can actually trigger it from Dropbox. You can trigger it from Google Drive. You can trigger it from OneDrive. Any online cloud application that stores files that's in Zapier that has an integration, you can pull the audio from those folders to create a wave automatically. So you can actually set it up where when you pull those in, and we have recipes in here too. So when you search for it, we'll have on our page, we'll have all the recipes that you can use with Wavve, with those other cloud services, where we'll guide you through how to set these up. And we'll be doing more videos like this to kind of train you on how to do it. But basically, when you drop an audio file in those folders, it'll automatically trigger a wave to be created. And then obviously on the other end of that, we'll create another Zap here. And I'm going to create that now, which will take the generated finished wave and then post it wherever you want. So you can put it back in a folder, right, to do something else if you have another automation, or you can post it. Now, Zapier will let you post it automatically to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So those are the three right now. And obviously, they're updating it all the time. So all their other platforms, social media platforms, they might, open up more integration and you'll have more capabilities. But they have all sorts of different integrations. Slack is one too. You can have an update where maybe you are updating your team to review your Wave that you designed and created and the clip that was selected, whether it be the smart highlight AI or your own, custom clip that you did. So you can actually post it, an announcement in Slack with the link and say, hey, check this out. Do you approve, so that we can use this in our social media campaign? You can do cool, fancy things like that. And so there's so many different ways you can use this. But the idea here is that wherever you're going to get audio, you can have it generate a wave. Okay. Then you're going to come in here and you're going to use Wave as the trigger, as the thing that triggers the Zap. Okay. So I'm going to have this right here where instead of it being the second step, it's going to be the first step. And what's happening here is when a video is created, I'm going to trigger this to start. So it's going to be listening for Wave to finish a video that you've created. Now, we just created one that had the YouTube tag on it, right? So that's going to be the trigger that's going to say, hey, post this to YouTube. Now, I could also have a Facebook tag and a Twitter tag on the same exact, maybe I'm doing like a square video or something and I want to post it everywhere. Or maybe even a horizontal video and I'll post it on all three. When I have those tags on it, it's going to pull and trigger it. And if it has the right filter, which I'm going to show you in a minute, it's going to do the next action. So what's the next action? I want to post it to YouTube. Okay. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, okay, upload video to YouTube. So when a Wave video is done, I want to upload it to YouTube. And it's going to ask me what's your account, and you're going to connect your account and it'll ask you to log in and verify and all that. And then you'll get it to where it'll say continue. And then you say, all right, I want to set up the action. Okay. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to go into this first step. Now, I notice it has this little exclamation mark. I did not finish connecting my account. So let me do that so you can kind of see what it looks like here. And you'll notice setup trigger. When the YouTube trigger, when the video is created with the YouTube trigger, hit continue. Okay, it wanted me to connect my account. Then you want to test the trigger. So this is, hopefully I have one in there. Okay, so if you've created waves and tagged them in your account before, you're going to be able to kind of get a test. And you're going to want on this step, you're going to want to do a test. But if there isn't a recent one in there, just say skip test, and it'll give you kind of some default variables to use. But it is better if you just create kind of a little clip and tag it the way that you want, like YouTube. That'll help you. But if this is the first time you're setting it up and you want to just skip it, you can, and we'll give you the variables there. Okay, so you should have the check mark now on the Wave logo. And then when you come down here and say YouTube, upload video, you hit continue, and it'll now let you go to the next step. Okay, so the title is the title of your Wave video, and you can make that the title of your YouTube, unless you want to, type in some other words here and customize it. The description can be pulled depending on if you want to just put a generic description in and have it post to YouTube and then edit it later. A lot of people just have kind of a, here's the general description, here's all my social media links, here's some links, and then they kind of go into YouTube later and add kind of a custom chunk of text where there's like show notes or something like that. But you can put a generic one in here. We also, if you're pulling from an RSS feed, we're pulling the description too from the episode description. If you're just dropping a file into a Dropbox and there's no other information, then we can't pull a description. So it depends on kind of what metadata that we're getting from your other Zap that you're triggering, that is triggering this, depending on if you have a description or not. But we do have a place to store that description data if you do have it. So if it is coming from like a podcast. And then you can go in here and say, what's your video? And you can say, there's my MP4 link of the Wavve. That's from Wavve. You can choose the privacy status. Is this a public? Is this private? Is this unlisted? And then you can say, what do I want to tag it? And it's, like I said, it's always going to tag it as automated. You can set a publish date on it, notify subscribers true, and then you finish and it's good to go. So that's pretty much it. And it's really cool. And it works really well. And so you can automate till your heart's content. Now, obviously, if you're going to set this up in a way that you are going to do it in mass, just make sure you have enough, you have a plan that can handle the minutes of this. And so if you find that you're setting these up and they're failing, you might want to check your minutes on your plan. It might be because you don't have enough minutes to create the finished waves, or you have one that's too long. Like you load an hour and you said, summation off, right? You don't want any AI, giving you the highlights and it just does the whole hour and it fails. It's probably because you don't have enough time in your plan. So those are the two. And you can do the same thing with Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. Some of the other ones right now in Zapier, the integrations actually only let you post images, not videos yet. But we're keeping a close eye on those. So as soon as those come available where they allow you to automatically post a video through Zapier, then you can be all over it. You'll be ready to go. Of course, there's so many other possibilities that you can use Zapier for that I haven't even scratched the surface on. So for instance, if you are using, I haven't even looked into this, I'm just thinking out loud, but if you are using another buffer, I haven't even looked into these yet, but there could be other ways that you could schedule and add content to other engines that can get your content out to all the other platforms, right? So there's so many combinations that we're excited about that we want to see, and so many recipes that you guys can create that we're really eager to hear how we can help you automate your workflows, grow your audience, grow your influence, and we can't wait to see what you're going to do with it. Take care.